So if you've been following the channel, you know I call myself the Wizard, which means I read a lot of fantasy. But I don't only just read fantasy, I also read sci-fi. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and today we're here for a little something different. Instead of some fantasy books, we're going to talk purely sci-fi. But before we get into that, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help us grow on that march to 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2023. And while you're doing all that, you might as well check the description box down below for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord, as well as links to all my social media and information about my Patreon. And that said, guys, I kind of just want to jump right on into this, because when I first launched the channel, I very much intended to do fantasy and sci-fi, and instead I've been doing historical fiction, some sci-fi, and a lot of fantasy, which, don't get me wrong, my heart will always belong to fantasy. But I kind of wanted to talk about some of my favorite sci-fi books that I've read very recently. Well, I say recently, within the last 2 years of starting the channel. And yeah, so I've got a stack of 10 over here. So you could say this is my top 10 sci-fi as of, current. Because, my ratio is just all over the place. But that said, let's just jump right on into this with the first one, because we have got a really interesting one. And this is by Palmer Pickering. And this is Moon Deeds. This is the Star Children Saga, Book 1. And this is about twins Cassidy and Tor. And essentially what's so interesting about this is I did kind of like an indie spotlight on this book. Like with all of these books, I've kind of talked about them here and a little over here and a little down here and a little up here, but I've never done a video about them. So if you missed what I was talking about, Moon Deeds by Palmer Pickering, it is about two twins who are kind of star-linked or like linked by fate. Like they can kind of tell where they are. This takes place on Earth. And so this isn't like out into the deep galaxy, but basically the prologue is like a high school essay about the first contact, which happens within their lifetime and how things have kind of progressed and humanity has kind of integrated with this alien society, and then how the alien society kind of came to Earth. They're like, oh, we come in peace, and then slowly kind of forced their culture onto humanity and are trying to do a takeover. What's kind of interesting here is there is a magical element, so this is kind of a sci-fi with a hint of fantasy, because there's some shamanic powers that humanity seems to have invested. But basically the whole goal of this is to kind of do a trek to get to a spaceport to then get to the moon in order to kind of distance themselves from the strife that is happening back on Earth, because there has been a kind of coalition of humanity that has been resisting this kind of new government that is forcing, that's like a mix of humanity and the alien cultures, trying to force these new beliefs upon humanity and this new way of living, where the slavery is a thing, and women have lesser rights and things of that nature. And so they want to get to the moon because their great aunt had left them some deeds to some plot of land on the moon. And so basically Cassidy and Tor are trying to get off Earth to get to the moon. They're trying to immigrate. They're trying to save themselves. And it's just this great exploration. I really enjoy this one. Now, I know at the beginning of the video, I said that this was going to be purely sci-fi. And I'm already going to backtrack a little bit, because this book is a nautical fantasy book with some heavy sci-fi elements kind of tossed in there. And we're going to talk Janny of Wert's Cycle of Fire, specifically Storm Warden here. Like I said, this is a nautical fantasy with a quite jarring sci-fi kind of hit that I think works really, really well, especially if you know it's coming. And so, like, when you start this book, it's fantasy, 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 and then goes, bam, sci-fi. And a lot of modern kind of sci-fi and post-apocalyptic stuff has kind of done this, where you'll be like, oh, this is a fantasy world, oh, this is, terms have changed, and then, boop, there's a little bit of sci-fi, all of a sudden we're in a post-apocalyptic dystopian future. I'm not going to name series, I don't want to spoil those for you. But, yeah, it's a trend that I've seen more and more and more, but, like, when it happened here in Cycle of Fire, I thought it was a really delightful treat. Basically, the sci-fi elements in here, they just work. It kind of uses that theme of where if you don't understand something, magic could possibly be a form of science that we just don't understand. So I absolutely love that about the Cycle of Fire. Plus, great characters, great themes, and gorgeous, gorgeous prose. Please check this one out. I know Janie Wirtz has been getting a lot of love lately here on BookTube. This is my first book that I've read by her, and oh my goodness, is it amazing. Next up, we have got Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Now, I read this one kind of as a standalone. It is currently a trilogy. Book 2 didn't really work for me, but book 1 is a very special treat because it kind of takes the idea of like humanity has gone, advanced into the future. We've messed up. Then humanity survived and has gone back out into the stars. But like, what did ancient humanity manage to affect change within the universe? How does evolution evolve? Things of that nature. It's so good. And like, it also introduces like cryosleep, time skipping, how generations can affect evolution. This book was absolutely amazing. This is one of my favorite Tchaikovsky reads that I've read. And I have read quite a bit of Tchaikovsky. Not all of it, but I've read a good bit. But yeah, that one is just so darn good. Up next, we've got another kind of sci-fantasy. This one leans more into the space opera scene, though. It's very, very good. We've got Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. I'm trying to get rid of that glare for you guys. There we go. One of the best fantasy, or just some of the best covers in the business. I keep wanting to talk about fantasy. The wizard can't let go! But anyway, we have got Hadrian Marlowe, and oh my goodness. So Hadrian is this individual who is trying to buck, like, his culture's expectations of him, because very much the way this works is you do what the head of your family tells you to do. And Hadrian doesn't want to do that. He wants to become what is called a scholiast. And he wants to learn, and he wants to do all of these things. And that's not what his father wants his noble son to do. And so he runs away out into space. And this is very much like, taking the idea of what if Darth Vader was right all along. In order to save the galaxy, you had to embrace evil and do truly atrocious things. One of the cool things about this story is it uses time jumps very smartly. Again, we've got cryosleep. I believe like the book spans the series spans a few thousand years. And then also we've got alien races, we've got gladiator fights, we've got all these great elements, and we've got an older Hadrian kind of being charged for his crimes, waiting, the judgment for his crimes, and he is recounting his story from across his entire life. It's being chronicled back to you. It's very, very, very good. So yes, we're gonna put that one right there. Next up, we're going to talk about We Are Legion, We Are Bob. This is the Bobaverse, book 1. Obviously, I've read the whole series, or at least what's out so far. There's currently 4 books. I don't know if that's complete or not. But this one's very interesting, because basically Bob sells his business, goes out on the Vegas Strip in order to, celebrate, just as kind of like, he's got disposable income now. So he goes and signs up for cryonic preservation. And what ends up happening is immediately following afterwards, he gets hit by a car crossing the street. And then his consciousness wakes up 300 years in the future. There has been a, takeover of the world government where religion has gone rampant and science is evil. But there's still some factions who want to explore the galaxy. So he gets his mind uploaded into a drone and shot into space. And he goes on exploring. Bob is a big nerd in the 20th to 21st century, so he's got a lot of pop culture references from when he passed, and so there's a lot of pop culture references gets referenced in here. There's a lot of analysis of exploration, of evolution, of survival, of personality drift, so what happens if you keep copying data, and then errors starts occurring because you can never perfectly copy data forever. There's always going to be some sort of degradation there, and it analyzes that concept. Very, very good. All right, I think we are approaching the halfway mark. Yes, we are approaching the halfway mark. All right, next up we've got T.A. Bruno's The Song of Kamaria in the Orbit of Sirens. I've already talked about this one a whole lot. This is what if humanity creates AI and the AI frankly doesn't appreciate that and, wants to kind of assimilate humanity into their being or to push them out and eradicate them since they are better. And so humanity has to flee the Sol system to their last refuge. Basically, we discovered a world, Kamaria, and we're kind of having to flee to there when it was supposed to be an expedition, and now it's our last chance of survival. But this world is not meant to harbor human life. The air is unbreathable, and yet they have to find a way. This follows Denton and Eliana. I absolutely love this series. It is a trilogy of books, and chef's kiss. It sticks the landing. It's so good. This was an SPSFC 1 finalist. This is well worth your time. Very, very good. All right. Up next, we have got Zeroed Out by Jacob Markoff. And essentially, what this one is this is Omega City 6. This is kind of post-apocalyptic. Humanity has wrecked the world. Shocker! And, yeah. Surprise! Because we're so responsible. And we have created these havens called the Omega Cities. And then we have put AI in charge of the Omega Cities. So basically everybody is given just enough to get by. You can, of course, work more. A lot of people spend their life living in like virtual reality beds. There is just so much stuff going on. There's also a kind of mystery thriller serial killer vibe going on with this one because basically the AI runs the world, so everything is under constant surveillance. And all of a sudden, somebody's getting away with murder. So we get kind of two individuals, Ash and Zed Takada. Where did I get Tanaka from? Takada. It's Zed Takada. Zed is an enforcer, and Ash is a dreamer. They are on two separate kind of aspects of society. Zed comes from a place where they have shunned the AI. So if anything comes in there with surveillance or artificial intelligence, it gets stopped at the gate. It's all been ripped out of their buildings. This is a slum within the Omega Cities. They all have them. And then Ash is like this affluent dreamer where her nightmares while vivid dreaming are recorded and dispensed to the world for entertainment. But something is appearing in her dreams. Very good stuff. Next, we've got, of course, Wistful Ascending by J.C.M. Byrne. You knew I was going to talk about Hybrid Helix. Come on, you knew this was coming. I love Hybrid Helix. This follows Rowan. And Rowan is an Ildrak hybrid. And basically what the Ildrak are is they're this alien race who sends out their males. Basically, they're powerful males, but at the same time, they need to breed with other alien species in order to create basically superhero-like beings. Whenever one of these males breeds with another individual and a child is born, that person has the potential to have superhuman abilities. They can fly, they can punch through planets, stuff like that. You get the gist. Anyway, Rowan is one of these individuals. He did the whole superhero thing on Earth, and then, of course, he kind of got a hot head, and so he had to leave to join the Ildrak military. He did kind of 10 years as that, and then decided, maybe I don't like what this is doing to me, because basically, Ildrak are hot-headed. They've got big tempers. And not only big tempers, but problems with authority. And so he has kind of retired and gone out to the space station, Wistful, to just kind of be a Tochi. Basically, he flies out, he grabs the ship, and he brings it into dock. That is his day job, but of course, his past won't leave him alone. I love this. There's tons of humor. There's space bears. Every time I talk about this, I have to talk about space bears. There's kaiju. There's all sorts of great stuff on this. You do get those superhero kind of vibes in book 2. And this one is just so darn good. It's so good. Oh, yeah. All right. Then we've, of course, got The Engineer, a Chronicles of Actaeon story by Darren M. Henshaw. And guys, this one is like, picture Stargate Atlantis. So it's kind of got that vibe on there. But basically, 100 years ago, people just appeared within this ruined city. They have no memory of where they have come from. And so they've just tried to get on the best that they could. Action is an engineer who likes to invent, who likes to go on adventures and doing things like that. And this one's just great because he kind of comes to Pyramid, I believe is what it is called. So he comes to Pyramid, which is in the heart of redemption. And there he tries to set himself up as an engineer. He tries to ingratiate himself with the royal line. And then he kind of starts going on adventures. He hires a couple mercenaries. And he just gets on getting on. Now, I will preface that I consider this one to be sci-fi romance. And that is because there is a romance in here. It is very well done. It is very gentle. It is more of a wooing. And it's done very, very well. However, if you are unprepared for the romance elements, you do need to know that they are there, because you could be in an adventure, you could be in the action, and then 10 pages later, it will slow down and it will analyze that romance. So that is just something that I recommend you be prepared for. And then lastly, we have got, of course, the big daddy. We have got Frank Herbert's Dune. I love Dune. I need to get back to this series. It is a classic. It is a legend for a reason. There's a reason I paid up for the Folio Society. Guys like Paul Atreides and what he's going through, the politics, I think this one's called Third Person Omniscient, POV structure, Arrakis, the Dune worms. Like, this one's so good. I've engaged in, like, spoiler discussions on this. I've talked with friends like Evie on this one. Guys, if you have not picked out Dune and you want something that's got really engaging prose, great big ideas, Dune is where it is at. I'm probably ready for a reread of this book, honestly, if I'm being completely honest with myself. That said, guys, that's about 10 books that I have got for you. Let me know some of your favorites in the comments down below. And as always, till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.